We are here at Flow Festival Helsinki, and I'm here with Black. First time in Finland.
Definitely.
Did you have any expectations of what kind of a place Finland is?
No, but I just came from Norway and Sweden, so it's like I kind of have a gauge on what the area is like, but you don't really know until you get on stage.
Yeah, but you've been touring in Europe, you've been touring in the States.
Right.
Is there a big difference between touring in like Europe or in back at home?
Yeah, I think anytime that you cross the border, being from the States, there's a different kind of like unfiltered love that you get. Home is definitely like a great experience, but also another great experience is being around people who don't know you at all, giving you the same amount of love. So, yeah.
So, what is your relation with music? Like, when was the first time when you knew that this is something that you have to do or you want to do?
I was rapping and just writing, whether it be poetry or very long verses, my whole entire like elementary school, middle school, high school. I got into like rap battle, and then I was trying to figure out, how to transfer from rap battling into songwriting. And, once I got more into songwriting, it just became just kind of like a calling, over just like a hobby. It was like, okay, now I feel something like when I make music, or I feel something when I do something that I like musically. So maybe like around 2011 was when it like hit me that I'm either going to do this or I'm going to do nothing. So, yeah.
You mentioned the battle rap, and that's something you started with, and you said that you were so good at it that it kind of helped you also to grow as a songwriter. What was the things that made you get better at writing a song or doing a song? What were the things?
I think with battle rapping, like the thing is saying as much as you can in like the most creative way, and with songwriting all I had to do was compress that into like maybe 8 bars or 16 bars and figure out how to still give that same feeling. Like when I'm battle rapping, I'm giving line after line after line to paint a picture, and with the song it's like I only have but so many lines to paint the same picture. So just going from a scale of so much to a scale of a little bit it just made things easier for me.
Do you think you would be here where you are if you didn't have that kind of a background?
Definitely not. I would be a completely different writer, completely different artist. I had to go through like that songwriting phase to get to this songwriting phase, and I think everything I do today kind of ties back to that. When you hear like moments where I like resort back to rapping for a second, or if you just listen to the metaphors like when I sing, it's always there.
Is that something that you think that you might go back to some point, or is that something that is left behind?
It was for what it was for, when it was for that. I definitely won't go back to battle rapping, and I will only just try to improve my songwriting. Yeah.
Your first studio album came out 2 years ago, 2016. It got Grammy nominations. Was that something of a goal for you? Did it mean anything?
Going into Free Black, we just wanted to make music, and I wanted to make something that connected and that was relatable to the people that I wanted to give it to. And it's pretty cool to not have like a goal of we're making this so that we can get this recognition, but to still get that recognition. I remember being in the studio and being like, one day we'll get there, but that's not right now. Like, let's focus on making this music. And then that day just so happened to be the first day. As far as just like with the first album, it was, like you said, Grammy nominated. And that's a better feeling, than anything else.
Yeah. But I've noticed reading a lot of interviews that you've done that you are kind of a person that focuses on a step at a time. Like, where does that come from? Because I feel like if I were in your shoes, I would be constantly thinking about like what's going on around me.
I mean,
so how do you stay focused and just focusing on the next project?
I will say that method it's a difficult one. I definitely do like to take things like one thing at a time, but with the life that I have, there are 100 things going on like at once that I have to figure out as well. So sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes you have like your ups, you have your downs, you have your high moments, you have your low moments, but all I can really do is try my best, and that's what I'm doing every day.
And since your first album, your life has changed. You have a daughter now. Has that changed you or the way you do music in any ways?
Yeah, personality-wise, it just makes me think more about my growth and clarity and being clear in like what I say and what I do. I feel like that was a task I had, before she was born, and then, once she became a thing, it was like, well, now I have to get this done. Like now I have to know what I say what I mean, whether it, hurts feelings or, feels harsh or like whatever the case may be. Like when she has a question one day, I have to be able to answer and not just say, I don't know. So I think, as far as clarity goes, she definitely helped me in that area, and that clarity transfers over to writing music.
And well, this year, or this time that we are living right now, it's kind of, well, it focuses on a lot of the things that what can we say and what can we not say,
right.
the Me Too movement and everything,
right.
Especially when it comes to hip hop. For a long time, there's been a lot of conversation about, is it too sexist, is it too misogynistic, whatever. Are those things that you think about at all? Like, what can you say or not say? I mean, you said that, of course, your daughter affects you now in a way that you have to be able to answer to her, but if you don't think about just that in general, do you think it's a conversation that is needed?
I think it's always a conversation that's needed. For me personally, I've never had to reflect too much on like what I'm saying, because I know what kind of person I am, and I know what kind of morals and standards I live by. All I can do is try to paint a picture of who I am in hopes that other people can see there is a right and a wrong way to do something. There's a right and a wrong way to be, and it's a conversation that always needs to be had, and I am just trying to figure out the best way to say it. I'm just glad I get to stand on the side I've always been standing on, and not have to worry about like a past situation happening, or a moment where I wasn't like who I was, and I can just like tell people who I am and inspire them to be who they're supposed to be.
And it's kind of interesting because a lot of times I hear excuses when this conversation comes up. They're like, oh, the hip hop has always been like this, or there's always been this kind of lyrics and behavior. But you've also grown up, probably listening to all that too.
Definitely.
But what were the things that affected you to not choose that kind of a road? Be like, well, no, I can use different kind of lyrics and not hurt a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's like it's an internal thing, It's like some people are different, unfortunately. And, when I hear things growing up now, like whenever, like when I hear things, I feel something. So if I ever heard anything and it made me feel uncomfortable, I knew not to repeat it. If I ever saw anything and it made me feel uneasy, I knew not to do it, So like I say, everybody has an understanding of what right and what wrong is, and you can make all the excuses in the world that you want, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. It is.
And you write a lot about like your personal relationships, the things that you have gone through. Do you put any kind of like limits to what can you talk about or not, or do you just let it come out as it comes?
I am literally focused on just like telling my story, and music is the one time where I get to fully express myself, because on a normal day I'm probably just very reserved. I'm usually in my head. I'm trying to figure out, as far as like my personal connections and relationships with people, I'm just trying to figure out how to communicate what I go through and what I want to say. But with music, it's like the audience is the song I'm working on, and I don't have to be embarrassed, or I don't have to be shy, or I don't have to like limit a situation. It's like I can talk about whatever it was, whether it be a situation where I was in the wrong, or a situation where I felt like I was in the right. Like no matter what it is, music is the one time I get to just say what I feel and not really like put a filter on myself.
Is that something that came right away, or that's something that you had to work with, like to just focus on your own voice and not care about anything?
I mean, it's always been my outlet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always been my outlet in a kind of way. It's just now, obviously, you grow older and you have new things to talk about. So it being my outlet as a kid might be saying something as simple as, I'm upset that my teacher kicked me out of class today. And then being, my outlet as an adult might be, well, I could have handled that relationship better, and here's the story around it.
You also said that it's very important for you to just, focus on the things you do and not let outside affect the way you are and how you, carry yourself. But at the same time, you also said that you follow what's going on in the internet, you follow the conversations that people think about your music. How do you stop yourself from still like caring for the things that you do about? Because I'm assuming that like everybody else, you don't just get love.
Yeah.
So how do you not let that affect you in any way? Just still keep yourself true to yourself.
Just having like a strong understanding of like what my purpose is, past music. It's knowing that I have a task, and knowing that when I've done these shows and I've met these fans and I've talked to these people and I've seen these reactions, like there was something that was deeper than music, that came from that exchange. It was, you helped me get through this and I appreciate you for that. And knowing that, nothing else could ever really nothing else could ever like really stray me,
And that's a kind of really like a strong mind to have for a young artist, because what I've heard that read that you used to be signed to a different label, but you didn't do anything or release anything because that didn't satisfy the way you wanted to do the music.
Right.
So do you have the strong kind of people around you to support your goal, or is it just you and your strong will that keeps you just staying true?
I would love to say that there's just like a gang of, like an army of overwhelming like love and encouragement. But I've always been internal, and over time that's been like a pro and a con. But everything I've, always done and dealt with has always been inside first, and then I present it to the world. So mainly me, just kind of staying to myself and working things out inside first. But I do have, a few people in my corner that I can always like count
on. Your music has been labeled as moody trap, moody rap. What do you think about those type of labels? Do you think that it's something that you can relate to, or is that something that you would like to break?
Partially, but I think with anything you have to figure out like how to categorize it so that it makes sense to you. The same people who say like it's moody, there are like people on the other spectrum who say it's like inspirational, and same people who say it's dark are the same people who like on the other side say it's hopeful. So I think everybody has their own interpretation of what it is. What it is to you is what it's supposed to be to you, whether you're, it's a happy thing or a sad thing, or you like it or you don't like it. Like whatever you receive it as is what it's supposed to be. I'm not here to change it. I'm just here to do what I'm supposed to do, period.
Is your first album, Free Black, something that like shows us the type of artist you are, or is that something just to start with? Like, do you think that it might change in the future a lot or a little?
I think it will always and forever change. I think Free Black was an idea and an introduction, and that the next album is an extension, of that idea and like these things that I have to deal with. But over time, I definitely feel like things will take like different, turns and different courses and different sounds, and I'm excited for it. Yeah.
So what is the situation with the next album?
Well, it's coming as soon as possible. And the last one was me all by myself. This one has a nice handful of features on it.
Okay.
And like I was saying, the first project was what I went through up until that point, and this one is more so this is what I'm dealing with right now, because what else can I talk about, other than what I'm actually going through.
Yeah. And is your daughter part of the...
Yeah, there are definitely a couple like name drops and, mentions in there.
Yeah. I also have to ask about the number 6. It's in your name. It's partially your daughter's name, and it seems like to be something that is in your life, and it's life path number, something like that.
Yep.
And you said that you chose that to believe in that number after going through a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
Are you superstitious? Do you think that has affected somehow your life after that? Choosing that number?
I think that everything, no matter how big or small it is, has some kind of purpose or some kind of meaning to it. I think that, having ideas about spirituality and symbols and numbers and horoscopes, like all those things are kind of like take what you want to take from it and, never let it like govern you. So with me and the number 6, it was just like a repetitive thing, and anything that's repetitive in my life means something to me. So it's like I see the number all the time. I was born in the 6th month. The area I grew up in is zone 6, and like all these things that just kind of like kept revealing itself to me. So over time, I just wanted to know like what other people think about repetition. So I started doing my research. I found out about life path numbers. I went to the number 6 first, and usually there's like a calculator to figure out what your number is, but I just went straight to 6, and I looked at it, and it was like people who are like of service to other people and nurturers and like all this stuff. And then I did the calculator to make sure, and it said 6, and I was like, okay, cool, perfect.
Wasn't that at all like spooky?
During the time in my life, it wasn't necessarily spooky because it was what I needed, you know, some kind of like reassurance that what I was going through wasn't for no reason, you know, like being stressed out and trying to figure out like how to package my music and my voice and like all these things, like going through all the trials I went through. I needed that moment to be like, okay, well, I know, you know, I'm not just doing it for myself, I'm doing it for other people.
So do you believe that we ourselves can control a lot of things that happens to us?
Yeah, definitely. I think we are in control of everything that happens to us, whether it be good or bad or random or, you know, whatever the case may be. Everything you do sets you up to be like in the next step or in the next spot that you're in. Like if I did anything differently than, you know, how I did it, who's to say I would be here right now?
You said that your next album will be coming soon, but what is the next big goal that you are aiming for? What is the next big thing for Black that needs to happen?
I mean, for me, it's just expanding upon like what's already been. I get to do shows and perform in front of thousands of people and see the message like stick. So the only thing that I ever wanted was for that message to continue to multiply. So that's all I ever want, is for more people to feel, for more people to love, for more people to, you know, figure out how to get through their shit, and for me to be like some kind of source of inspiration for it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.